Al McFarlane. Welcome to The Conversation with Al McFarlane. I'm glad to be here and glad to have you along as well. Monday, the beginning of a new week, an exciting week, I think, a week full of controversy to begin with on a variety of levels. We'll discuss several important things in the hot topics this morning, but today is Monday, August 7th, 2023. And I want to begin by, as always, inviting you to thanking you for number one, for being a part of this platform, for however you're joining us, whether you're on YouTube, Black Press USA, or YouTube Inside News, whether you're connecting through our Facebook page for Al McFarlane or Inside News or Black Press USA, or whether you're connecting through LinkedIn or Twitter. We appreciate your presence. We invite you, we ask you to help us grow our subscriber base. We are setting a target of 1,000 subscribers. We're halfway there almost. And you're taking a second to go over to the YouTube Insight News MN channel, that platform, and subscribing, liking, sharing. That puts us one click further towards our goal. We love this opportunity to connect with you. Our mission here is simply to conduct good interviews, to talk to people that are doing things, saying things, working things out in our community, and to create content not only for distribution on the social media channels that I mentioned, but to create the historic record. We are, at the end of the day, a newspaper, a Black newspaper, and our mission, our vision, our goal, our work is to document who we are, who we say we are, who we have been, and who we are becoming, and to enshrine those descriptions in the archive of our community, but also in the public mind. We say we are creating a public mind, creating a consensus about what the future is that we can co-create with other people in community. Well, today's going to be a great program. I've got some guests that are forward thinkers, doers. Adair Mosley is the CEO of the African American Leadership Forum, a great organization, a great guy doing important, critical work for our community. Also joining us from Denver, Kwesi, Mensah, COO of the Alliance for Collective Action. I'm looking forward to connecting with Brother Mensah. He's talking about business opportunities in Africa and in Ghana in particular. And I have just a great relationship with and love for Ghana and the people of Ghana. We'll talk about that. And of course, at the top of the hour, we're going to check in with our dear colleague, Coach Leah, talking about all things sports and her program after the whistle. Well, let me begin with a hot topic. There's a couple of things I want to bring to your attention in the realm of hot topics. And top of the news here in Minnesota is that Total, the third, I think, or fourth officer in the George Floyd murder, has been sentenced. I'm looking at an article from the Associated Press that says ex-Minneapolis police officer is unrepentant as he gets nearly 5 years in George Floyd killing. It's a piece written by Stephen Karnowski of the Associated Press, published about 20 minutes ago, actually. And Karnowski writes that Total, the last former police officer convicted in the state court for his role in the killing of George Floyd, did not show any repentance or admit any wrongdoing as he was sentenced today to 4 years and 9 months. He had previously testified that he merely served as a human traffic cone, quote unquote, when he held back concerned bystanders who gathered as the former officer, Derek Chauvin, who is white, knelt on Floyd's neck for 9.5 minutes while Floyd pleaded for his life. That was on May 25th, 2020. A bystander captured video of Floyd's fading cries of "I can't breathe," and his murder touched off protests worldwide and forced a national reckoning of police brutality and of racism. So at the sentencing hearing, Thao said he never intended to hurt anyone that day. He spoke at length about his own growth as a Christian during his 340 days behind bars, but he denied any responsibility for Floyd's death. And in rambling remarks, the article says, full of biblical references, he drew parallels with the sufferings and false accusations endured by Job and Jesus. Interesting. He said, quote unquote, I did not commit these crimes. My conscience is clear. I will not be a Judas nor join a mob in self-preservation or betray my God. Judge Peter Cahill of Henry County, who found guilty in May of aiding and abetting second-degree manslaughter, said he was hoping for more than just preaching from Thal on Monday. And so he said, after 3 years of reflection, this is the judge, I was hoping for a little more remorse. Well, he then sentenced Thal to 57 months, top end of the range recommended under state guidelines, where the standard sentence is 48 months and even 4 years. So there we go. You know, I think there was a sense maybe in the community that since he didn't go to trial or didn't admit or cut a deal earlier, that he would accept the, judgment of a judge. There must have been some sense that things would go more leniently. And I think he and we are kind of all surprised. That's one thing. That's an important story, but look, the next story I want to give you as a hot topic is about the Minnesota trooper who killed a young black father, Ricky Cobb, during a traffic stop. And this is a story that, again, speaks to the question of, a traffic stop, the sentence for which, the punishment for which is death. That's the question that has to be raised. It's not as simple as that. I know that, but I'm saying that at the end of the day, tail lights out, person dead. There's a problem that we have to address. And, and if I had Don Samuels on a couple of days ago, former city council member, former school board member, Don Samuels, whose program talks about lights on. And Don Samuels is leading a program successful here in Minnesota and now moving to other cities across the country where the police response to tail lights out is not arrest, shooting, death, but here's the check, here's the voucher for up to $250. Would you please go and get your tail light fixed? Wouldn't that have been an appropriate response here that could have saved the life, spared the life of 33-year-old Ricky Cobb? Well, the article I'm reading says that in Minnesota, families of 33-year-old Ricky Cobb II are demanding justice after his killing by a state trooper during a traffic stop in Minneapolis on Monday. This is Monday week. 3 troopers pulled over Cobb for allegedly having his taillights off. They refused to tell him why he should exit his vehicle, which he declined to do. They tried to force him to exit. The car took off. One officer fired a fatal shot into the vehicle. The troopers, Ryan Lundgren, Brett Seedy, and Garrett Erickson, have been placed on administrative leave. Governor Walz has assured Cobb's family that a thorough investigation will be undertaken. Cobb was the father of 5. What a tragedy. So then the last thing I want to bring up is it's a hot topic. It's kind of blowing up social media now. I think I've got a video to show you, but one of my children called me and said, you seen what's happening in Montgomery? No. Looked into it. There was apparently a conflict, a brawl on a dock on the Alabama River where a boat was waiting, like a riverboat like we have here in Twin Cities, waiting to dock, but there are several pontoon boats tied in the space where the dock was. A black man who worked on the dock for the city employee, was trying to get the pontoon owners, who were white, to move their boats so that the big boat could moor where it's supposed to. Well, you can see what happened. Maybe make that bigger real quickly. So here's the short story on this. The white guys that own the pontoon boats apparently took umbrage at the black city employee who was doing his job, asking them to, we can take that down now, asking them to move their boats so that the riverboat could moor, could anchor. And at some point in time, these guys got out and accosted the city employee, throwing blows, one, then another, tackled him. And Black people around watched this unfold and said, go help him, go help him. And they did. And at the end of the day, a major melee, some of the reports calling it a WWE type slugfest. Interesting. What does it mean? I called my colleague, my counterpart in Birmingham, just to get a sense of the read on this incident. The social media read from the Black side is that kind of people saying, well, we don't condone violence of any kind anywhere. There's something different and special in this story, in that Black men rushed to aid another Black man who was being attacked and viciously beaten by white people, a white mob. And so there's an undercurrent. There's the proper, appropriate, and I think sincere statement that nobody should be a victim of violence, but that it's admirable that young people witnessing a mob attacking a Black man who was doing his job, a city employee, that they came to help him. But the consequence of that was a bunch of white people got beat up and some arrested, some Blacks arrested too. So my point is that the publishers of the Birmingham Times, which is one of the great Black newspapers in the South, said, you know what, we understand how Black people may be feeling, particularly in social media. It's kind of, given George Floyd, given Tutal, given all the things that we experience in the realm of assault of our bodies and of our dignity and of our culture, that this is a time where it seems like our people responded in a way. We've got a history of being victims of mob action. There were tones of, Ricky Smiley said, tones of Emmett Till, and how these men felt entitled and able to go and deliver punishment to a Black man with the audacity to challenge their right to dock their boat there, et cetera. So the Birmingham newspaper publisher said, you know what, we understand that. We understand the frustration. We understand, this energy that's coming up, but we still have to stay focused, Black people, on feeling the same kind of outrage when Black people kill Black people. So it's not enough to feel like there's some kind of, lap to be taken because Black people responded together in response to this recorded threat from white people. We need to do the same kind of coming together to challenge, to stop, to prevent, to decry when we do damage to each other as well. I think that's a good way to look at it. We'll see where it goes. Well, let me move on and get into today's program. It's going to be a good one. I want to begin by, did I say that we want to thank our relationship with the Minnesota Department of Health? They and we want to keep all of us reminded to pay attention to the COVID protocols. COVID formally is over, but we know it's still around. And we're joining them to remind our community that risks still exist. So we say, let's continue to follow COVID-19 protocols. Let's keep washing your hands, stay aware, prioritize prevention. The idea is that together we can create awareness, we can encourage testing, and help everyone stay healthy. So enjoy the show. Remember, get well, stay well, and be healthy. So let me continue by bringing in my first guest today, Adair Mosley is the CEO of the African American Leadership Forum. He's recognized as a passionate change maker and a relentless strategic innovator. And today he's here to talk about the African American Leadership Forum's transformation and its focus on what it's presenting as the Black agenda for change. Brother Adair, how you doing, man?
Be with you, Al.
Welcome. How are you, man?
Good. Yeah. All the things in which you stated earlier in the show is certainly front of mind for me, and so, but overall and personally well.
Well, great. I'm glad to hear it. You look great. It's always good to see you. I enjoy talking to you all the time. You bring clarity, you bring calmness and an intentionality to that frames the challenges that we face, frames them in ways that make them less daunting,
Yeah.
and you, I think, help our community move with the sense of can do, will do, must do, and that we are doing. And so
Yes.
we must fear not and must not be faint of heart. We can make change because that's our mission of the moment. That's how I see and hear your voice, Brother Adair. So talk about, first of all, let's give our people that might not know African American Leadership Forum 101. Let's give the background, the story, the mission of the organization.
Yeah, absolutely. And so many of you, if you don't know, but the organization is in its 16th year, started out as a really Gary Cunningham and a host of other leaders who were ensuring that we had a credible kind of Black institution that would champion the needs or the outcomes for Black Minnesotans, and so largely focused in the metro. And so this was a volunteer group of individuals that would meet at regular convenings on a Saturday morning to talk about a host of things that we were experiencing as Black people. And in many ways, as you talked about, the Black Agenda for Change is not new. That the forum has always at its core put forward an agenda, put forward solutions that were going to create better outcomes for Black Minnesotans.
And so go right on into the agenda.
Yeah. And so I have just in my in 3 days, 9 months with the organization, really just come in to not only bring forward that historical kind of knowledge and why the organization exists, but also to think futuristic about what ultimately do we want to achieve, and not only as an organization, but as a community. And one of those things was that was really critical as part of this re-identifying our strategies was that we no longer wanted to be in this kind of long arc or archive of Black death. And so much right now of what we consume around our Blackness, especially here in Minnesota, is paired with both disparities, paired with despondency and brokenness. And a lot of the language is coupled with racism. And yes, we are experiencing those things, but that's not the fullness and the completeness of our Blackness. And so some of that is paradigm shifting and changing that language, ultimately to say that we want to create radical Black futures, that it is about us thriving in all forms, unhindered and unapologetic in our future. And how do we build the systems and the communities in which we want to thrive in? And so we're pulling forward some of that kind of Afrofuturism, if you will, to say that how do we dream the radical futures for ourselves, but also put the plan into action to make it come true? And that means putting Black people at the center of the conversation and at the solution making. And so that is at the core and the essence of what the forum is in this moment. Pragmatically, what does that mean is that we are really going to be equipping our community and the broader ecosystem, doing a lot around data, narrative analytics, market research, a bucket of work that I'm calling data science. We have a strong, growing and budding policy body of work. And so that's advancing public awareness and policy solutions. A new part of the work is creating the kind of Black Experience Innovation Lab, if you will, creating an enabling environment for innovation to emerge. And then core to our work as well is our fellowship and leadership development program. So we will continue to build and support a network of leaders. All of those things, all of those 4 bodies of work are laddering up into the Black Agenda for Change, which is a platform of transformative Black-centered solutions. So when we think about radical ways of reimagining systems in education, in health, in public safety, in generational wealth building, in economic prosperity, we think about those transformative solutions and policy recommendations. We're going to be coupling those things together and putting on a Black Agenda for Change that we all can kind of rally behind as a community. But it will have gone through our process as an organization.
So talk about the particular role of technology. I love that you're talking about a data-driven
Yeah.
uh, uh, approach to change, understanding and advancing change. But how do you use then technology and new learning? How does innovation come into this? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. And so there's the kind of technical piece of technology and really thinking about ways to connect our communities through a host of shared platforms, using the digital environment certainly to enable that. We're really going to be intentional in making sure we connect with our communities in like a St. Cloud, Rochester, Duluth, where we know there's other pockets of Black people across the state. And then from a kind of the design side of this, as a person that was formerly in a role of innovation, we're using this methodology of Black-centered design, human-centered design, design thinking. And that's ultimately to say, are we shifting the ways in which we think about the problem? Are we bringing creative solution making? Are we removing the constraints that oftentimes limit our ability to really think radically about how do we solve something?
Mhm.
And so we're going to be using this process inside of our organization. And we have a great team of design strategists and also a chief innovation officer who is going to be working alongside of our community, working with our community and wrestling with that question of how might we? And we are only looking for where are people, where are we getting, where's the points of tension in our community as it relates to, I'll use, for example, education, and
Mhm.
saying, you know, how might we design an education system that truly both educates and liberates the Black child? And
Hmm.
when you start to ask those radical questions, then you allow us to design a system that works for us. And so those are the things. And ultimately, we want to put those things on the Black agenda for change because we want our systems to start supporting what we believe will truly bring us the kind of social, economic, and political prosperity that we seek as a community. And so that's our process as an organization to wrestle with those questions across those domains that I mentioned earlier.
So I'm interested in your thoughts, sort of sitting deeply in those ideas, important ideas and important concepts. How do you measure
Yeah.
impact and
Yeah.
success? And so that's one thing. That's the second question. The first question is, how does it look? How does it look, for example, to design
Yep.
strategies, and what's the process that you've undertaken to both create design, test design, and then test the results, the efficacy of the work itself, the strategy?
Well, it will probably be hiring Al McFarlane, who used all the right words to describe this kind of methodology. So I'll start with the latter part first, and that is the first kind of core to this work is doing the market and opinion research. And so we are now starting to go out to our community using some third parties to really get at what is the household grappling with? What is Black parents, what's at the top of their mind if they could think about designing a community that truly worked for them and their children, asking people in our community those very intimate questions. And we're going to use that as the basis of our research. And so that whatever comes out of those critical conversations then becomes ultimately what is then a convening. And and you'll know this, that we will continue to do the convenings around critical topics as it relates to
Mhm.
education, as it relates to health, as it relates to public safety. And we
Mhm.
want to be able to bring what we're describing as beautiful experiments across our country. Where are
Mhm.
there pockets of these things already happening? They
Mhm.
may not be at scale, but there are pockets of them. And can we bring that more proximate to our community? Can we bring the individuals that are leading those charges to
Do you have some examples? That sounds exciting. What
yeah.
examples? You must have somebody in mind already.
Yeah, lots of people. If
Okay.
I take education, it would be
Couple of, yeah, bring a couple of
yeah,
examples for me.
like a Dr. Bettina Love or a
Okay.
Kareem Weaver in Oakland, California. It's just a phenomenal list of people, and I can do this across a lot of domains. But then when we're doing those convenings, that's the dialogue. That's the
Mhm.
exchange between community. And whatever bubbles up out of that becomes the design question.
Mhm.
That becomes the design question, because that's what we're looking for, is where's there a point of tension? Where's there synergy? Where's there critical mass around a particular topic? And saying that's the thing we must deal with. That's the question we ask. And then that goes into a design process of what you just said, testing and piloting, and ultimately saying, can we test this in small scales in a school, in a health system? Can we test this? And then where can we attract the resources and policies that undergird this, and to make it more mainstream, ultimately to getting the outcomes? And there's behind the scenes, there's quite a robust what I'm describing, a theory of change that talks extensively about how we will ultimately measure this work. But a lot of this is the knowledge sharing and awareness. So that's one bucket. Some of this is going to be the adoption of the types of solutions that come out of these design sessions. Are they getting adopted by institutions? Are we getting the types of policies passed necessary that's coming from our community? And then on our leadership development and capacity, are we equipping community members to be the architects of the future through our social, through our leadership development programs? So quite a robust measuring, evaluation, and learning framework.
Well, quite exciting, quite exciting. And so let me ask you, how do you include or deal with what I would say as a reporter are artificial barriers to the capacity or the history of ideation in our community? What do you mean, Al McFarlane? If you convene people and say, where does it hurt?
Yeah.
Well, it's my paycheck, it's my health insurance, it's my car
Absolutely.
note. And that's true. It does hurt. But what does that reflect more deeply? And does our approach, our examination, go to structural systems that allow even us to believe that's the way it is, so that we don't question the framework that is invisible, that is omnipotent, that is Oz-like, right? And I think that we sometimes call ourselves not lethargic, that's not the right word, but there's a word that'll come to me in a second that that reflects lack of engagement, lack of energized examination. And I think that's ascribed to us, but it does not reflect our real both the interests and ourselves. So how do we unlock and move ourselves beyond this historical structured? And so let me relate that to the moment. The moment that I'm talking about is the moment we just watched in Mobile, Alabama, Montgomery, Alabama, where some would say it was different, but there was a different coming together of people that didn't know each other around a incident of injustice that was unfolding, that had a familiar ring. It felt like Mamie Till Mobley, Emmett Till, and all the historic power arrangements where somebody felt it was their right and their duty, their ability to call the shots, and we had nothing to say about it. This spontaneous reaction challenged that order. How do we move ourselves to we challenge with integrity and with planfulness and with our best intentions of creating the best for humans? How do we do that? Does your system allow that? I think it does, but I'm asking you to wax long on it. Go for it.
Yeah, that's a great question, and one that we've wrestled with, and I think we'll continue to. And I just brought this up to the team the other day, because what I hear you saying or asking in this question is that there are moments, like there's an acute issue around any of these topics as it relates to education, that oftentimes encumbers our ability to be able to dream about it, like in the future. And also getting our community to go there. How do we deal with the acute issues of, let's say, public safety or intercommunity violence, while also trying to build towards a more equitable or public safety system? And I think the role of this organization, and frankly, us as facilitators need to hold both.
Mhm.
Need to be able to extract the things that are front of mind for people, while also getting them in spaces to be able to radically dream about how it can be different. And every day, as we, one of the great benefits of our organization is we brought in Dr. Catherine Squires, who's a former interim dean at the University of Minnesota at Humphrey. And she's just been doing radical kind of self-care work with us, but also saying that one of her things was these incremental things that need to happen. Yes, but how do we ensure that people understand that they're building towards something greater?
Mhm.
And that is oftentimes, I think it breaks down in dialogue. We don't bring community along enough, or the solutions that are presented are sometimes presented as haphazard rather than the whole. And getting people to understand how what we do today is actually compounding into something greater. And that means that when we're addressing acute issues, that it has to be intentional, that there has to be a level of intentionality there that is in pursuit of our bigger dream. And so I think as an organization, we are going to get people who will come into the space who will already be at the end and are radically dreaming about it. And then you will have people who are dealing with the acuteness of something. And we're going to have to hold space for both of those things because both are true. But if we want to build systems that feed or get at that systemic, then it truly is about that Afrofuturism, if you will. It truly is about that futuristic thinking. And we want to make sure that the conditions are right for that. And sometimes that means answering one question before I can jump into my own agenda. But I believe that we are creating space for all of that to exist.
Let me close with one last question that I threw out a lot, and I call it an Al McFarlane-ism.
Yeah.
You often hear me say, as a critique, they get the money, we get the misery.
Yeah.
How do we change that?
Well, I think this is where we are really coming in and saying that this is Black centered, that it's Black driven, and that ultimately we get the resources and we can allocate it towards the things in which we see necessary for our community. And so I think we change it by continuing to show solidarity, to show unity amongst the Black community, that we jettison the language of deficit from us collectively. We show up in unity around the things that matter. We don't have a deficit mindset. I think we need to think in terms of abundance, because there truly are enough resources to be able to source the things in which we dream.
And my answer to my question, Adair, is that we adopt the mantra that our health is our business.
Yeah.
Our education is our business.
Yep.
Our culture is our business. Our security and our safety is our business. Justice is our business. We are the creators. We are the owners. And we come as the solution and with the solution at the table of decision. And we are committed to and capable of creating futures in which we win. And the caveat there is that the winning we're talking about doesn't require that somebody else lose. We're talking about a different kind of winning.
We're talking
winning
about
where everybody can win.
That's
and
right.
That has not been the case. Listen, brother, good talking to you.
Likewise.
You know what? I'm going to do one more thing before I go. Adair Mosley, the 5-year-old. Who was he? Adair Mosley, the 18-year-old. Who was he? One sentence.
Yeah.
I see who you are now. Then I want to give you 3 sentences or 5 to talk about the completion of the work 20 years from now, 2023, 2043, 2053.
Yeah.
Reflecting. Yeah. So all that in about 60 seconds.
Okay. Well, I think that there's been a consistent thread throughout my entire life, and that's one of both curiosity, that's one of service. The 5 and the 18-year-old was in a church. I was just looking at some photos, and we went out to I'm from Mississippi as a child. I grew up in Mississippi. So the church.
What town?
West Point. West Point,
West Point.
Mississippi.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
town, the church was in the country, and so
Okay.
it was on a gravel road. So that brings fond memories to me. As we think about the future of the work, I don't know. I don't know that the systems in which we're trying to undo will be done, but I work as though they will be. And I labor as though they will be, and ensuring that when I get to the end, that my hands are simply dirty or filthy from doing that work of dismantling and working alongside our community. And so I know that, I'm a North Sider, and I know that I am trying to leave this community, and more broadly the Black community, in better shape than what I found it. And I think that's in good demonstration of the work that I've already done thus far.
Brother Adair Mosley, thank you so much, man. Good talking to you as always.
Likewise.
Let's keep this conversation going.
Absolutely. Be well.
Take care. All right. We'll see you. What a great conversation. What a great spirit. What a great idea. And it's a great team. And this idea of the Leadership Council has been in development almost forever. And I can tell you that since I've been around here, since way before Adair was born, this desire to collaborate, to organize, has characterized the community. And it's just wonderful to see that it has never stopped, and it continues and continues. And Adair at the helm, I think, gives you confidence that it will continue bearing fruit. So great. Listen, let me move on to my next guest. Brother Evans is a business consultant who is going to talk about his work. He's actually also a faculty coach at the University of Denver. He lectures and coaches undergrad students in leadership and organizational management. He's a best-selling author and, again, a business strategist. His mission is to help companies that are interested in establishing presence in Africa. Brother Evans, good afternoon. Welcome to the conversation with Al McFarlane. How you doing?
Amazing. Nice meeting you. Amazing energy and spirit you got out there. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. The Mensah name is a great name. So I don't know if I have good friends here who are named Mensah, but Mensah is a common name in Ghana, I think.
It is like the Smith, Patel, Johnson and type of thing, but you can have Evans, Kwesi together. It's only one. That's me, by the way, on a lighter.
And that's you. Evans, Kwesi. That's great. Well, tell me about, first, before we go into your topic, tell me about Ghana, the Ghana that you come from, your story as a Ghanaian, and your work here as well. Let that lead into your work as a business consultant.
Thank you once again. And personally, I'm from a beautiful country called Ghana. I think the perception of Africa had always been on the very poor side most of the time. And so I try to present Ghana as a very positive environment, not to say there are no challenges there. There are challenges in Africa, and Ghana is no exception. But I lived and had my preliminary education in Ghana until I left the shores about 22 years as at today's date, plus or minus, to the United Kingdom to do my bachelor's degree in a beautiful university at University of Greenwich. And then when I was done, I came here in the US, I think 2006, and did my master's degree at Howard University and finished my MBA in 2008, right in the middle of their financial crunching time. And the rest is history. I've gone through challenges. I still go through challenges and keep the smile on. But the most important thing is I've had opportunity. Basically, I'm a trio-continental individual. So I understand culture, I understand people, not just how they speak, but how they do things, how they do business, what really pokes them, what doesn't poke them. I've worked in for-profit, non-profit, NGOs, just call it, and academia, media. And currently, as I talk to you, I'm part of a rebuilding conversation in Ghana in terms of changing the game, in terms of rebuilding the country with strong institutions and a mindset change. So in summary, it's a passion. I'm blessed to be here in the United States with my family, but my foot is always in Ghana. My hope, my heart is always in Ghana. Once an African, forever an African. So I'm always there. So that's Evans in there on a 10,000-foot level.
My Mensah friends are Fonte, from Fonte community from Cape Coast area primarily, and went to school at Infantston.
Infancy Pim. We have Infancy
Pim.
That's for the girls. Infancy Pim is for the boys. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And I've been there and
Awesome.
visited the school. Loved Ghana. So are you from the Fonte community as well? Or
unfortunately, they wish, but they couldn't get me. I'm from the Everland. That's the beauty of the name, by the way. The Mensah cuts across all.
Okay.
All the regions, right? So you can be a Mensah from a Fanti, Mensah from Ashanti, and you can be a Mensah from an Ever perspective. So I'm a Mensah from an Ever perspective. So yes.
From the Ewe community. Okay,
yes.
Great. Well, I went to Ghana first in, I think, 1994. There was a project here in Minnesota called the Still Realm Stair Step Foundation. And the premise was to get elders, people like me, guys like me, and then another group of women, our counterparts, to do a mentorship visit. And we would go with 8 or 9 elders, 8 or 9 young people, and we'd spend 8, 10, 12 days in Ghana. And the trip included visits to the La Mancha in Accra,
right,
and a naming ceremony there. Then it included visits around the modern traditional courts in Accra, then a visit up to Kumasi to sit in on a traditional court and to witness the historic way of problem solving in the community. And then obviously it included visits over to Elmina and Cape Coast to visit the dungeons and more things like that. But learn to love Ghana. The theme of Ghana the first year I was there was the re-emergence of African civilization. And Brother Evans, Kwesi, Mensah, I can tell you that the idea, just the hearing and the seeing of those words in public space manifest the re-emergence of African civilization was a powerful feeling and experience. And I think that that's part of the beauty of what you are doing and we're doing, is encouraging our people to rediscover who we are and our ways of assembling the world that predate the distraction of the past 300 years, but that lead us into something that's organic and reflects our own connection to the creation story that places us in and as part of the divine. That's my lecture for the day, Brother Evans. Respond, if you will. Am I on track with you or not?
No, you are. I am super impressed and being educated by you yourself, because I remember the time vividly. I was then in Ghana, and so I knew what the mission was at the time. I think it was the time of the Rawlings regime when he was the president at the time. And I want to say that it's about time, your vivid recollection of all the key areas and how you even took time to pronounce the names of the places you visited, how you remembered the story. Very important. I think it was about time, it has been about time we wanted to bring the community back to the land that they belong. It's been a vision for, actually, it's been over 400 years. It was 400 years in 2019, I think. So we are 404 years now old that we want to bring the brothers and sisters back home, and not just bring them back home, but we want them to come home and feel at home. And we want to open our hands and our arms to welcome them, not just give them a place to live, but give them opportunities. Because it's one thing being home and being poor, one thing being home and be frustrated. One thing being home and not being given the seat. And it's about time. My philosophy has always been, I'm tired of being on the menu. It's about time people of color, people of immigrant descent, African Americans, or anybody that in between, we are on the table versus being on the menu. Is a metaphor, right? It's about time decisions are put into our hands. It's about time, like Moses, when God asked him, called him from the wilderness. He thought he could have run away from God for over 40 years for the crime he committed. That's Moses' problem. Guess what? God called him and said, what do you have in your hands? God did not say, go 1,000 miles, which you could have done, and pick some shining rod. He said, what do you have in your hands? I believe at the time the rod was as old and rickety as anything, using to shepherd. But he said, I'm going to use that rod for a miracle. And truly, he used it for all the miracles that parted the sea. That's the same rod that went to Pharaoh and turned the rod into a bigger snake than swallow all the smaller snakes. What I'm saying is that what we have, the talent, the knowledge, the wisdom, the diversity even among us, is important to come together, to be on the table, to make decisions work for us, because nobody else is going to make it for us. People have good thoughts, but they don't really understand us. And it's about time we understand ourselves, bring ourselves, come together in that uniformity, and then make things happen for us. So I really appreciate your vision and your visit, not just once, but your really presence in my lovely country, Ghana, that I love so much. Very good conversation, Al. Thank you.
Well, I love Ghana as well. And my statement every day, brother Evans Kwesi Mensah, is that everybody needs to go, and that we need to begin to see ourselves all over the planet, because we are. And we need to change our attitude about what is ours. And the ours means that we should see ourselves, anywhere on this planet that we choose to be, but in a way that's respectful of everyone that's there and respectful of our relationship with everyone that exists at the same time. So let me get back to exactly, your work, and how do you help companies navigate challenges and seize opportunities when they want to create a presence in Ghana? What does that mean? What are you telling, and how are you advising, directing, supporting entrepreneurial or corporate opportunity in Ghana?
Mr. McFarlane, very good questioning. And I don't know your background as a journalist, but very good questioning, by the way. So in summary, what I do is, because I know the dance, I know the cultures. And sometimes people mention Africa like Africa is a country. Africa is a continent, bigger than putting US and Europe together, right? So it's a country, it's a continent of 54 different countries. In America, we have 50 states. So basically, we have four more, huge. So I opened doors in understanding the untapped opportunities that in Africa. A lot of business people want to have a footprint, but they don't know what to do. They don't know, they have good ideas because it works in America, or it works in the UK or Canada or in the Western world. They just rush into the continent assuming it's going to work. Well, some may work for a while, but my job is to create that cultural opportunity, to bridge that gap between the understanding of the Western way of doing business and the way of the African way of doing business. They understand it, the language, not the spoken one, metaphor, in terms of how they do things, to connect the dots. So I do a lot of consulting on that, and also help on the other side, the investors who wants to make return on their investment. Of course, there's no free lunch, to make sure they understand the ground and what they need to do, the networks, the opportunities, what the do's and don'ts, like certain things you can go away with from the Western world. Here in Africa, no. We have a cultural pride system that we work with. And every country, like I was mentioning, is a continent, is different. So what would happen in Ghana might not happen in Togo or Nigeria or South Africa or Tanzania or Kenya, right? So you have to dance the dance differently. And by the way, in the United States, it is called United States. Just on the federal level, every state has different ways of doing things. The states, it's like the governors are the presidents of every state. So it is in Africa, right? Every country for that matter, in the continent, have their rules and regulations. So we need to make sure that our values are protected, businesses are having their return on investment, and what does that mean? But most importantly, connecting the dot between intent and impact. Because at the end of the day, you can have good intent to get into the continent and do great things, but we want to make sure it connects with the impact. And we want people in the continent to not just to get out of the mental slavery, right? We've been physically slave for years. Now it's more economical and psychological. So we don't want that anymore, right? We are pride people. We are proud people. We want to make sure that anybody that comes and work with us, and then that we can always put things together. So I help companies who are ready to listen, to have a footprint, and give them all the roadmap. And the final thing I'll say is every company, based on what you are going in for, depends on the strategy. So we don't use a blueprint strategy, one size fits all strategy for every company or any individual. But we use the opportunity to break it down, to understand, go to the grassroots, your mindset, what is your end goal, to make sure that all those things are put in place. So being a strategist, and as a McKinsey, a fellow person, heavily into strategy, that's my trumpet, and that's what I do in short.
So you teach leadership and organizational management. What does that mean in terms of helping, say, an Al McFarlane or my next door neighbor or my friend or my kids, if they want to be international, if they want to feel like they could either sell a product or sell a skill, sell a service, or import or buy? How do you use training for leadership and management to facilitate, to help ensure success for those that have the inclination, the interest in expanding?
So yes, I teach leadership right here in the Western world, University of Denver, as an adjunct faculty. That's true. But what we do is, per your question, we customize the marketing strategy and the entry strategy for that person. So if Al McFarlane wants to go to Ghana now, I'm going to make sure I know what product you want to go or services you want to do. And I would customize that to help you to connect it to the mindset of the people to create demand, right? It's getting to a point where people are tired of push strategies. We got to do pull strategy where people demand it and ask for more versus you pushing it on them. So I use customization as a standing point to be able to help people individually. So it's a lot of work. So if it was like a template that I just use for everybody, it would have been easy. You use the same template for everybody. No, but I teach everybody, and also how you communicate, how you penetrate, even the government sector. It can be very bureaucratic, totally different. Laws can be written but not being effected. What do you do about that and all that, and then your values that goes with it. So it is a very end-to-end game strategy that I give individuals, companies, and corporations who are willing, and nonprofits as well, who wants our services. And I'm always there, and I've always been there. Reason, like I said, I've been invited into a national conversation now. Sometimes I got to wake up as early as 1 a.m. for a quick interview, and then with panels, and get back to bed and go to work. So it's very exciting. It's not a distraction. It's been a blessing to do what I'm doing, and I do it with passion and with love.
Listen, so glad to meet you. So glad to have this conversation with you. I don't want to quit it, but I've got to go right now. But I want you to know that I'm interested in continuing the conversation. I think we've sort of scratched the surface, but there's so much more to talk about. And if you would allow me, we'll reach out back to you and invite you to spend some more time with us here. Our mission, one of our days, is focused on wealth creation and business development. And I see getting our people to think more broadly about the world. I mean, our neighborhood is the entire planet, and we simply have to elevate our sights to think and focus on the detail, on the minute, but also understand the arena is huge. Absolutely. And that we can be present anywhere on the planet, because technology affords that opportunity right now. So I want to have that conversation with you as we go down the road. Brother, thank you so much. Appreciate you, and thanks for talking with me.
Thanks for having me, and I look forward to the next conversation. I wish you all the best. Thank you so much.
All right, take care.
You too.
Evans, Kwesi, Mensah, what a great conversation. And he's not kidding. Ghana, amazing, amazing, amazing. And I hope that if more of us, do things like DNA and genealogy work, we will continue to discover our own personal familial lineages and connect with our cousins and great second and third and fourth removed relatives. It's going to change the world. It's going to change it. Well, let me stop. Coach Leah, you're here. Coach Leah, how you doing, my friend? I'm about to get into a track here. You're muted. You're muted.
How you doing, right? You were getting in that groove. I felt it coming. But a very fascinating conversation. And I heard Ghana is all of that. I cannot wait.
Have you been to Africa yet? Have you been?
I have not. The only place overseas I've been.
You gotta go. You gotta go. Yeah.
Yeah. So just really quick, I'm going to talk about my trending topic, shameless plug. This past weekend was my 40th year high school class reunion. Right. Washburn Millers were in the house thick this past weekend, and it was so much fun seeing folks that I had not literally seen since we walked across the field, walked across the stage during graduation, and it was so much fun. There were a couple people when I saw them, my face and my heart just jumped, and it was just incredible. It was just incredible. I happened to serve on that committee, the reunion planning committee, and so it was really great to see all of that hard work come together, the months of the planning that we took for that, and just see everyone that came out. So that was so much fun. So I wanted to talk about that. And then I had the most huge surprise that I could have ever had, which was our DJ was none other than the legendary KMOJ 89.9, the People Station, Walter Q Bearbanks. And so when I met him, oh my gosh, it was just like love. He's always been a big brother, huge supporter of just any and everything that I've ever done. And I've been a huge supporter.
Good guy.
As well.
Good man. Good brother.
So much fun to see him and just enjoy the time between of him DJing and playing all the old hits from back in the day. So you've got to tune into Coach Leah's After the Whistle tomorrow, 4 p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, right here, YouTube, Black Press USA, so that I can do my full recap of the reunion weekend. And so it was 2.5 days, I want to say, of just fun, frivolity, grown people acting like they were 18 again. It was hilarious. And then the other thing that I just wanted to share is
10 seconmes.
10 seconds. This got to be the Purple Day, Prince Day. They were honoring Prince with his name being named a portion of Chanhassen's Highway 5 named after Prince. And so they're doing a bunch of things Prince. And so I'll be wearing my purple tomorrow in honor of that.
Listen, thank you, my friend. Tune in to Coach Leah tomorrow. We'll take care. I'm Al McFarlane. We'll see you next time.